Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pat King Show. This is our premiere episode. As you know, ladies and gentlemen, it has been 3 years since I've been able to talk to my best friend. So Tyson George Billings is on the show today, and we have him in studio for the big reunion that you've all been waiting for. A lot of conversations are going to be had between George and I. We're going to catch up for a lot of the stuff that we've missed. And for those out there who are wondering what happened to the Freedom Token and what happened to the crypto, pay attention to this episode. You're going to get all the information you need. Stay tuned. We'll see you guys soon. Gentlemen, welcome. This is the premiere episode of the Pat King Show. As you know, you've been highly anticipating this opportunity to have this platform for everybody. And how could I not do this without my very, very special guest? As you know, my best friend and I have not been able to talk for 3 years due to the conditions that the government had put us under. Well, this is our opportunity. Here we are today, and ladies and gentlemen, George, Freedom George.
Thanks, Pat.
Welcome to the show, buddy.
Yeah, it's really good to be here, bud. I feel blessed being able to help you launch this show.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Real Pat King Show. And boy, do I have an offer for you. Are you looking for an online casino to play in Canada? Look no further. PlayNumbersGame has been in operation for nearly 7 years. And it's now one of the fastest growing online casinos in the country. Why are so many people signing up, you ask? They have daily giveaways right on the site, reward points for every dollar you wager, fast and easy withdrawals, simple sports betting with some of the best odds out there, VIP treatment for every player, no exceptions. And here's the big bonus. Everyone who signs up using my link is automatically entered into a $250 draw every Friday at noon. Ready to test your luck? Sign up now at PlayNumbersGame and see why everyone's talking about it. And ladies and gentlemen, do I have another offer for you? If you use my promo code PATKING and deposit $10, it'll give you automatically 100 free spins. Don't forget, promo code PATKING. Hope to see you there.
Help you launch this show. After 3 years of not talking to you.
It's been a long friggin' time, dude. How in the hell have you been?
I've been good. Yeah, I've been really good. I've been busy, and as you know, I've been protesting some, out there. I've been in traveling a bit. I went to Nova Scotia, traveled most of Nova Scotia, and went to a Freedom Festival over there, and been working lots of work, just trying to keep up with bills and build at home.
I bet.
Did some protesting. I came over to Ontario, the Save the Children thing that those guys have put together. I didn't put together any of that, but I felt that I needed to come to for multiple reasons. So I came over for 6 weeks doing that, and then
6 weeks.
No,
You felt that calling again.
I felt that calling, and it was mostly because of the plan I heard that was going on and stuff. I felt that I needed to come over and make sure that people were safe.
Yeah.
That things were going to be done in a manner. Like I was up for, some of the plan in there because, we need to do something, but it was mostly because I needed to come over and make sure people were safe with what I heard was the plan anyways. It turned out not to be so much and it didn't happen, but
But you still put your work in there, and you got in there and carried on what we usually do.
Yeah, that it didn't happen, the plan, but then we got to protesting and stuff. We went downtown a lot into Ottawa.
Into Ottawa.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. I was outside CBC. And
You're
CTV.
A sucker for punishment, aren't you, bro?
Yeah, got off my 6-month conditions. I had 6 months to keep the peace and be of good behavior.
Only 6 months?
Yeah, that's what.
Why did I get a year?
Well, because you're bad.
So you get into Ottawa, you're still protesting, you're still giving her.
Yeah, as soon as my 6 months was up, I hit the road.
Wow.
Like, seriously, the next day I think I was going.
Nice.
So I just felt like I had to keep going. You were locked down, at home and through the courts and stuff like that, going through that, and me watching that from the outside, seeing what was happening to you and not being able to talk to you, like, oh my God, it was painful. And, I needed you to talk to you in many of the situations I was in too. And like, I couldn't talk to you. And, it was.
Do you remember the last time we talked?
Yeah, it was in the car, in the paddy wagon, the meat wagon. And we were on our old cells, and there was a fella in there screaming and yelling at you. And we weren't supposed to talk. They had a bond on us to not speak when we were in court. And so we were in the wagon, the meat wagon, bringing us back to the jail, OCDC. And we were talking through the walls, right? And it felt so bad because the driver of it, when we stopped, he got out and opened my door, and he went like this to me, and he just like told me to be quiet because we weren't allowed to talk. And then you were like, George, and I'm sitting there like, oh, it just broke my heart, brother. But I knew I just couldn't say anything, and then
I always wondered why you never said anything to me while we were in there.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And I was like, this was our opportunity. I remember the last time, and that was the last time I saw you too.
Well, we seen each other when I got released. For a brief second.
After that, but I mean, I'm talking just at the point where, I got arrested. We know what happened. Obviously, the world knows what happens. It went on everywhere, viral of my arrest. But I have never seen anything on your arrest, so I didn't even know you were arrested yet.
Right.
I was already obviously in jail. Sitting at the, in the holding cells on Elgin Street. And then what happened with you? Why did they arrest you? What was their reasoning for arresting you?
Because they had warrants for me too.
You had a warrant?
Well, that's what they said. I never did see it or anything.
I never saw a warrant either.
No, but as soon as it was the next day, we were pushing back against the Gestapo there, and they were beating us and shooting us with tear gas and running over cannabis.
So you made it to the front line.
I was there, the hardcore.
Okay.
You bet. Yeah, I was helping people left, center, and right. They were getting hurt, and at one point there was 5 guys all dressed in their army stuff with their big machine guns, and they were up kind of higher. They must have been standing on a walkway or whatever it was they were standing on, and they were pointing at me. The one guy was pointing right at me, like, there he is. So they were looking, and then a few people that were beside me, they said, like, you need to get out of here. And I said, I'm not going anywhere. And then my dad called me that night, because that was the Friday. The Saturday is when we got taken over. The Friday is when we were pushing, and my dad called me that night, and he said, son, you need to get out of there. And I said, Dad, I can't go anywhere. I'm not leaving the people. And then so you got arrested that day, and then the Saturday is when they really gained ground on us because everybody had kind of left or whatever. They got to the La Chateau, or I think it was
the Chateau Frontenac,
something like that. They got to that point, and then they stopped pushing us the day prior.
Okay,
but then they locked everything down so nobody could get back in. And like Saturdays when they just walked all over us. And so I ended up making it out of Ottawa. A friend of mine got me out back to Gatineau, and I was soaking wet. I was frozen. I'd been up all night, all day. Like, I was really tired. And so I went back to the apartment that we had in Gatineau, and I slept for like 4 hours, and I woke up and I seen there were still people down there. So I went racing downstairs, take me back in there. And they're like, no, man, you're not going. I said, well, I'm walking then. And they're like, no, we'll take you in. And I got arrested in the same truck you were in.
Okay.
Yeah, because he took me back in. And what got me caught, and what you got caught too, was our live videos. So I started up my live video. We made it through the red zone or whatever. And then all of a sudden this car pulls up beside me and looks at me, and it was undercover. And then and they blocked us in. And that's how they caught me, was my live video, knew where I was.
So you get arrested. You go, you did your time in OCDC.
I did 1 month in OCDC, yes. And yeah, that was quite the experience. You spent your whole time in OCDC, but I can speak to it. Yeah, what a place. At first they threw me into the quarantine. They call them pods, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you're in your own cell and you got a pod, and they throw me in there, and they're not letting you out to have showers or nothing like that. And you got to be tested, and you want to come out.
So you didn't get showers either?
5 days was the longest I went for. Yeah.
14 me.
Yeah. So
18.
Wow.
Yeah. It was either you get a shower or you use the phone. Right. You don't get both.
Right.
And then they held me in isolation there for 68 days in that.
Wow.
Jeez. So you only had to do.
So it was, they wouldn't let me out for a shower and stuff unless I put that swab up my nose. Right. Mm-hmm. And I refused. And then finally what I did was one of the guards there was obviously doing some sort of drugs or something, so it was
one of the guards were doing the drugs? Yeah, not an inmate.
Obviously, like, I don't have any proof, but I could tell by your eyes when you're strung out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm an addict myself, a recovering addict, so I know.
Yeah.
And she was through the window, and I said, "Look at you." I said, "You're effing stoned." I said, "You're fried out of your skull." I said, "I'm reporting you. I'm talking to the medics when they get the doctors tonight, and this and that." And an hour later, I was out having a shower.
Oh boy.
Right. And I could use the phones and stuff. And my mother was so worried about me when I was in there. Like, so it was really hard on her.
And your kids.
And my kids, yes, big time. So, you know, I was still in the pods though. And in that time, they kept me in there for so long. I was asking for pencils and paper, right, to write and draw and whatever. But what I was doing, and there was a board game in there, like an old board game on the table, but you could fold it up so it was like long and skinny kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I traced a 7-foot cross on the wall, and a 3-foot cross on the wall, and a 2-foot cross on the wall. And I just kept getting pencils, and I wrote freedom all over that cell. The whole cell was covered in freedom.
You graffitied yourself.
Down one side of the door frame was 75 freedoms, just on one side of the door frame. And it was really funny because when I come in, they're like, there's that guy out from the TV, and everyone's rattling the bar screaming freedom, freedom, freedom. And anyways, this guard opens the door and he looks and he's like, holy. And I said, freedom. And he's like, I am so sick of hearing freedom, man. And I'm like, well, let me out then. Slams the door and away he goes. I don't know who cleaned that cell, but I didn't have to clean it, thank God.
That's awesome. Well, at least your spirits were high, and you know what? That's something that I know was a tough thing to come by while you're in them places. But you didn't stay totally in OCDC.
No, I got moved to dorms in OCDC shortly after, the Freedom episode there at the cell. And I was in dorms for a very short period of time because you threaten people, you know how it is on the dorms. And, I started being friends with a bunch of the people and trading food and bartering. And, I was pretty good at it.
The old jail hustle.
Yeah,
if you don't know, ladies and gentlemen, you don't want to know. But if you don't know, it is a real thing. It's the hustle in jail. You trade your dishes, you trade your drinks, your chocolate bars, you trade everything you can in jail.
Yeah, you barter, you throw nothing away basically. It's pretty interesting. I did okay in there though. But anyways, the second in charge there was trying to fight me and stuff and wanted
the range boss.
The second in charge.
Okay, yeah.
And turns out he backdoored the other guy too. Like, and this is later on in the jail story, but so he tried to fight me and I wouldn't fight, and he wanted these guys to gang up on me, and they wouldn't do it kind of or whatever. So they told me to bang on the window and pack up my stuff. Yep. So I did, wrapped everything in my sheet and had whatever I had accumulated there in a short period of time. And I went out and the guard was like, "Oh, why didn't you fight? You're a big guy." And I looked at him and I said, "That's exactly what you guys want."
That's
I said
100%. And I want to tell the audience that too. So when George says, I didn't want to scrap, it's because we knew they were trying to set us up. I had it at least a handful of times. I had guards wanting to fight me. Yeah. I had guards wanting to take me to where that there was no cameras and that they could catch me in a corner and all that. Right. And obviously, guys, jail is jail. It is what it is, and you got to learn how to live that lifestyle really fast. Yeah. But other than that, I just want to kind of go back to something because there's something I really need to talk about. Okay. So when we got arrested and you got arrested, I didn't know when you got arrested, but I got arrested. I ended up going into a room with the detectives for an interrogation. Yes. And they interrogated me for 4.5 hours. And in fact, I was able to talk them into giving me my cigarettes at the time. They let me smoke during because, I said, I've watched Law and Order. I know what they do. And if you're good and you play good cop, bad cop, you got to smoke. But bro, I seen your interrogation. And I seen it because it was part of my disclosure because as you know, it was you and me. We were on the same count. Co-accused, right? So I got to see your disclosure. I got to see your interrogation. Bro, what you said in there when you're like, I know what you're doing. I'll let you finish, but he says, I know what you're doing. You're playing good cop, bad cop. And then you said, I watched enough Law and Order. I know what you're doing. That was the most funniest thing going through my trial that I saw. And I wanted to bring that up, albeit the seriousness of everything. You still kept your light, man. You still kept that humor, that love, that just jovial attitude. And I just wanted to say I saw that. I know what you're doing, and I watched enough Law and Order that I know you're playing good cop, bad cop. It was funny. Yeah, you bet. My next question, though, was going to be if moving from where did you go from OCDC? What happened? I still don't know why you got transferred,
and I don't even know why either. Why I got transferred, but so after the dorms leaving there, they put me back into pods again. And they put me into a cell that I had to sleep on the floor by the toilet because it was overcrowded.
Oh boy.
That was only a few nights, and then I got moved to another cell when there was an opening, and then I stayed there for the rest of the time, which was about 30 days. Now we're just sleeping, and I wake up in the morning, and the door flies open, and Mr. Billings, you're leaving. And I was like, what? Where are you going? Or where am I going? Oh, well, you're leaving. You know, they didn't have an answer, and I'm like, uh-oh. Like, my stomach just, I was like, oh, here we go. Now this is where I disappear. Like, because we're not messing around with some RCMP people here. We're messing around with the federal government. You know, like, they're the ones coming after us. Trudeau and his henchmen, right?
And they'll throw away the key.
Right. And I'm like, oh, man, like, here, like, I'm going to disappear. So anyways, off we go. We go down, get all strip searched and everything, and they throw me in another meat wagon. And we start driving and stuff. We ended up at Quinte Detention Center in Napanee.
In Napanee,
yeah. So Quinte Detention Center, apparently I'm the most popular inmate they've ever had there in the history of jail.
in Quinte.
In Quinte, yeah. So, but you know, it was God too, because you know how the food was in OCDC with all the cold trays and but here was a couple of jails still that had home cooked meals in Ontario.
Wow.
So, like, I gained 40 pounds when I was in jail. Like, my pants wouldn't fit anymore. I couldn't even, nobody knows when I got out of jail, I had my top button undone because I couldn't do them up no more. And then you're playing, and I was in a dorm setting there and stuff. And while I was there, I
So you went to Quinte and you got home cooked meals?
Yeah, desserts, everything, man. Fries and gravy and burgers. And yeah, they had like fish nights and
mon Dieu.
Yeah, and actual desserts, like a piece of cake and stuff like that. Yeah. So
I'm jealous. I wanted it. I'm jealous. I'm sorry. I'm jealous because we ate those stupid trays with the like Minute Maid mashed potatoes and who knows what kind of mystery meat was in there.
Yeah, they were really bad. Those very malnutritious.
It was horrible, man.
Yeah,
very, very bad.
And between the food and OCDC and the cleanliness of it too, and the Quinte was very uncleanly, but at least they had better food. OCDC is much worse, and you would have liked it at Quinte for sure if they moved you. So, but like I don't know why they moved me, but I think that's right after that is when they come out with the whole Byron singing, George's singing, Pat singing kind of thing, trying to say that we're flipping on each other. Yeah. And I just laughed.
Yeah.
I just laughed. I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
so nice try.
I ended up getting a law enforcement officer comes in to OCDC and they pull me into the interrogation room and they said, you guys had flipped.
Yeah.
And I laughed. I'm like, yeah, did he? Oh, well, sucks to be him then. Yeah. And I'm like, well, what do you want? Oh, George flipped. Is there anything you want to tell us? Are you sure? I'm like, yeah, no, I told you everything you needed to know, bro. Yeah. And then I pounded on the door. I said, guard, let me go. I want to go back to my cell.
Right.
But they did. Yeah. They tried to play you guys flipped.
Yeah, exactly.
I knew you didn't.
Yeah.
Well, at first I didn't. And then it was like, okay. Yeah. Nah, he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it.
No, if you,
But they did try to play a number on us.
Yes.
They did. And they tried to.
But I watched the Nuts Law and Order.
To know that, yeah, they were just playing that stupid role. Okay, so you go to Quinte, you get done at Quinte, you finally get released, and then I'm obviously still in jail.
Yes,
but I'm hearing you took a plea deal.
Yeah. So what my lawyer come up with was pleading out to the one mischief charge. Okay, and. They had 10 charges on us. I was co-accused with you at the time. You had a few more. That
I had 14 in total, and then they brought it down to 9.
Right, and we had 10 together. So he said the 9 of these charges, he said, I can beat. They're a joke. He said, but they got you on this one mischief charge because you went on live video and asked to blow the horns for 7 minutes from 1 p.m. to 1:07 during the horn injunction. So you caused mischief. He said, I might be able to beat it. He said, but why would you want to give me 100 grand, 120 grand and be locked down for 2.5, 3 years, waiting for court, getting drugged through all this stuff, have sureties, not be able to go anywhere? He said, just take the mischief charge.
Exactly and what I went through.
And you walked out and you get to walk out. And I'm like, well, what happens then? He goes, 6 months, keep the peace and be a good behavior. And I was like, so I just get to be myself? Like, okay, yeah, sign me up, right?
Absolutely.
And at that point, my mom was already $50,000 in. So, and I still owe my mom $22,500 because I'm doing other things, and I was fundraising a little bit for it, but that got old real quick, and I know you know about that.
Oh boy,
it gets old and stuff trying to fundraise. So, but that'll come back to my mom, when the foundation's built and we're going.
That's good.
So,
and Lord knows, while I was in jail, I was trying to help you out too, even with connections that I had, trying to get you. I'm pretty sure it was me that found you, Jake. I got Jake, I got your lawyer, because we didn't know what was going on with you. And I was like, okay, I'm okay. Make sure George is okay. Like, somebody's got to take care of George and get his stuff. And then George had his vehicles there as well. And so even inside of jail, we were still trying to take care of you, man.
Yeah, that's good, brother. And
Just to let you know, so you don't think I forgot about you.
I never thought that, man. We're just trying to survive, and make it through that difficult time, because, they maybe missed my daughter's grad and you missed your son's grad, but they did it on purpose with me, because I was scheduled to be out of jail before the grad. And I learned a lesson with this, guys, is, less talk the better, because they listened to my phone calls and stuff in the jail. And then all of a sudden, Karinji, of course, was the same one as what you had. He couldn't make that date anymore. He accidentally double booked and we can only do this date, right? So he screwed me. And I missed my daughter's grad, and it still eats me up to this day. So
yeah, that was a tough one for me too.
Yeah, because we come over here, both of us said it on the way over. We're not leaving until our children go to a massless grad.
Yeah,
that was our goal.
That was our goal.
That was it. That was our number one goal. Of course, there was more, but that was our one thing.
Our personal one to us is we wanted to make sure that kids were able to graduate school without a mask on anymore, and that was kind of. Yeah, our thing was hang out
without the social distancing and all the other BS, So it was, and it worked. We just didn't make it back in time. So hard on my daughter, hard on the family. When I got home and when I seen my mom, it was not cool.
Yeah. And things are good now, though. Everything.
Yeah, you bet. She just wants her money back someday.
I hear that from a few people. They just want their money back.
Yeah, but it's my mom, and I'm blessed to have parents like that stuck. I mean,
and we have always, all those people that we're helping, and absolutely, we always pay them back, right?
That's right.
And then unfortunately, you didn't get it as bad as I did, but my bank accounts were frozen up until a while ago. So for people out there, my bank accounts were unlocked. I finally got them freed up. I got my kids' college tuitions unlocked.
Yeah.
But not without Mr. Paul Champ taking $68,000 and freezing it in escrow, which left me with peanuts, barely enough to even cover the bills that I had outstanding.
Right.
So here I am now, and I'm like getting... everybody's on our backs again, and we're ready for it again. People are going to come back at us again and start their shit again with us and stuff. But you know what? We are doing the best that we're going to be. I want to move on to something else though.
Yeah.
And I I'm bouncing across the topics, but there's stuff that people don't know, right? And stuff that I don't know if you've divulged this information out, but I want to speak about your experience in Ottawa and what you saw with your own eyes when everything was great, and then all of a sudden where things started to take a turn for the worst. Where do you think things went wrong with Ottawa?
Well, as you know, we had a short conversation after we left the Ark. The one time, the very first time, and the only time that I went into that war room, they were calling it and stuff. And I think we were infiltrated way before the convoy.
Infiltrated meaning
people that shouldn't have been there. I don't know who, obviously, but when I walked in that room with you and everybody was around, you recognize some of them, but there was a lot of people in there that who are you? Who are why wasn't it just the leaders of the convoy and stuff in this room? Why was there lawyers and all these other people in there and my hair on my neck stood up. And my arms, and if you guys know me, you know that I feel things. And we walked out of there, and I said to you, Pat, this place is infiltrated. It's
compromised.
I don't think this is good, and I won't be going back in there again.
Right.
I said I'll stay outside and watch the door if you want to go, back in or whatever. But I knew something was wrong there, for sure. No, just whoever it was in there, and so. And then there was another incident at the Swiss Hotel in the war room too, where we were, called kind of terrorists or
I believe the term was mafia hitman.
Oh yeah, mafia hitman come walking in here that.
We were the muscle
or something, and then there was a fella there, and we were trying to hand in receipts, and we had donation money and stuff or whatever, and this and that.
We were in there handing in the receipts for the people that were looking for fuel. They were looking for, they were told to set up their invoices and keep the receipts of what they paid for, bring them in, and they would put them on an Excel spreadsheet, and everybody would get refunded at the time, when they needed to get refunded. I never saw any of that refunding. I never saw anybody's receipts returned to them. I never saw any of that.
No, I handed in a mitt full of receipts myself because I had my Freedom truck and all the tools and stuff in the back, and I helped multiple people on the way over.
Yeah, the mechanics we needed the mechanics, the pilot trucks. We had fuel truck operators. We had a bunch of stuff that was all coordinated prior to leaving.
Yeah, and our fuel truck guy, he spent like $30,000 of his old money and never got it back.
Yep.
Our the guy that we had running around personally, and there was lots going on. So, and then we weren't welcomed very well in there and stuff, and it got a little bit heated or whatever. But I think it went wrong when you're working with the cops, when you're working with taking trucks off the street instead of bringing more trucks in there and going around. And I'll say it out loud, we did it more than once where we stayed up all night, and we went back out to these areas and woke people up and brought them back in around the roadblocks and everything in the middle of the night and jammed the streets back up. Yeah. The ones that they were emptying.
Well, and that's what I was found guilty of.
Right.
In fact, so it's proven I was found guilty of piling up the trucks on Kent Street. And in fact, in the disclosure, it says they did a count at 5 o'clock at night. There were 75 trucks, and they came back in the morning. There was 180. Oh.
Yeah. So
I openly said it. We jammed them up. So
yeah. So we didn't come across the country to work with the cops. We did what we had to do to get there and stuff.
Well, I want to say it in the right manner. Yeah, we didn't come to work. We came to protest.
Yes.
But prior to getting there, we worked with the law enforcement on safety, on traffic guidelines and bylaws. We worked with the law enforcement, and then we organized with the law enforcement of where they wanted us while we were there.
Yeah, and they placed us all over and split us up and they didn't really actually work with us. Where was that one stop we had on the way over where I leapfrogged and went way ahead? All the Hutterites and stuff were there with the food.
Yeah, so that was Winnipeg.
Yes, yeah. And so I leapfrogged, and the parking lot was full, and we were working with the cops. But when we got there with the convoy, I got everybody out of the parking lot and stuff. Like, there's a lot of trucks coming in here. Get out of the way. There was all supporters, and then when we got there, they blocked everything off.
I know.
So like, we're not going to work with you anymore.
And can you imagine had we got there like the initial arrival, and you didn't go up and find that out for us on that? Yeah. So those are exactly key points. My thing too, same thing. The second there was a negotiation with the city of Ottawa that they're going to negotiate terms.
Yes.
Well, you turned it into a hostage situation.
Yeah, basically.
Right, and that's exactly how they portrayed it. Mm-hmm. And I know this for a fact. And that's when the shift happened.
Yes.
I feel in Ottawa.
Me too.
So as our bank accounts were starting to be frozen a little sooner.
Yeah.
So it was February 7th that my bank accounts started being frozen. Yeah. I had no email money transfer abilities. I had no transfer abilities at all. Yeah. I couldn't tap my card anymore. This was long before the EA was invoked.
Yes.
So when this shows me that there was something going on in the background that a lot of us were not privy to, and those conversations were had. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail on that, ladies and gentlemen, due to the fact that you're going to want to read my book when I get it printed and get it to the market, get it on the shelves for you guys to read. You're going to want to read it. We're going to leave some of that out of it, but we do know there was something wrong that happened. And in fact, in this episode, we're going to bring in a special guest here to kind of clear the air on a lot of this stuff. So stay tuned to the end of the broadcast, and we're going to clear up a lot of discrepancies that a lot of people have. But I don't want to miss this point. And my biggest thing on this one, George, is the last 3 years, bro. You've been all over Canada. You said you've gone to Nova Scotia. You've gone to Ottawa again. And then back home, you were doing stuff back home. Tell me what you were doing there.
Well, I getting ready in between and working a lot between traveling too. I also took the kids into BC and then ended up at a rally there and stuff too. So I went basically coast to coast. And we did the Axe to Tax protest as well. And, that's when things really shifted for me, was after that Axe to Tax, because I thought that, I spent 6 weeks out there again. In 1 year, I spent 12 weeks away from work.
Shit.
In one year. So people need to understand that, you're calling you a grifter and all this stuff or whatever. And, I don't do that. My money goes back to the camp that I'm donated to. I do get some personal stuff, and sometimes it goes back to the camp anyways. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't cover anything that I'm losing from work. You know, like I'm still out $10,000. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
so, you know, but we're out there protesting, doing the acts of taxing, and we started 2 of them. We started in Cochrane first, and April 1st we is it Cochrane? Cochrane, yes, sorry. And so we pinched down the highway on April 1st, and it was backed up almost into Calgary there.
Really?
And then that night, a whole bunch of cops come out, and we got off the highway before they got to us. We seen them all parked on the field, the crossroad, and so we got off the road, and they come down for nothing that night. But the next day, they were all out in force, all standing in front of us, hundreds of them. You know,
I saw something online about it, and then I saw some woman screaming in their faces and just being vile and disgusting to the law enforcement, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah, and most of those people, they're just there. Some of them are security guards and whatnot. They had no name tags on, and like they're not even. There's no point in screaming and hollering at these people. You know, you can say what you want to them a little bit, but being real vulgar and gross and vile and stuff like that.
You attract more bees with honey than you do.
Oh yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, that's demon stuff, anyways. You know, you're possessed when you're acting like that. So
it was different to see, but
yeah. So
then you get this and law enforcement. What else? What happened?
Well, so they left, and you know, they spent the day there. And we told them, like, well, we weren't going on the highway today anyways. You know, it was April 1st was when they raised the carbon tax. But so then spent 3 weeks there. And I had a tent with a couple of the pop-up tents over top of it and stuff, and I had it all tarped in, and it was called the bunker because it went through all the storms and stuff. It didn't blow away. I had it strapped down real good. And anyways, then we went up to Lacombe and started one because we knew we needed to move. We need to get on Highway 2 somewhere. So we went to a truck stop just outside Lacombe and took over that for 3 weeks. Well, I was there for 3 weeks. It lasted for quite a bit longer, but I had to go back to work. And, you know, on the way home, that's when I said to myself, I'm like, okay, enough. I was like, the people aren't even going to stand up for being robbed blindly. Like, what is going on here? I thought there was going to be like mass people standing up from like literally just reaching in your pocket and taking more money. Yeah. But they didn't. You know, we had quite a few, but not what I thought. Then I'm like, okay, it's time to get ready. It's time for me to take care of me and my family and be ready for what's coming. And that's where I've been for the last 3 years. Well, you know, after the acts of tax, and that was a year ago. Right. So this past year, for sure, I've been just working on myself, getting closer with Christ, working lots at home, getting more self-sufficient, and, you know, working on my relationship. Right.
Relationship.
I've been with God, with my courtship. For those that are wondering, I am getting married. I've been in courtship since November. And for those of you who don't know what courtship is, it's when you're doing it right under God, and you know you're not fornicating.
You're getting married.
Yes, but I'm doing it right by God, and it's surrounded by Jesus, and we're doing it the old-fashioned way. You know?
I'm kidding. I knew he was getting married, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the best man.
Yeah, and he's the best man, right? So,
but you guys didn't know that, and I wanted to kind of bring that up to the audience, is that you're doing it traditionally. You're doing it the way, you know, the old school values. You court, you court the person, and then you build that relationship with each other, and leaving out the, you know, the like society these days is all about quick.
Not bringing in any of those demons if you have it, right?
I call them, what do I call them? Throwaway relationships.
Right.
You know, when you're swiping left, right?
Yeah.
And that's why relationships aren't lasting anymore. It's like okay, I got bored of this one. Yeah, I'm swiping left now, and we just, you know, it's crazy. So you're going old school. You're going traditional.
Yeah, we are. It's really nice. It's beautiful.
Right.
It's going to be awesome, and we're really happy, and we want to show other people too, right? So.
Mm-hmm.
Want to show other people as well.
And to get back to the simpler days.
Yeah, and I've said it many times.
Life was good.
I've said it many times. We need to go back in time.
Yeah,
we need to go back in time. You know, get away from all this consuming and like all this stuff. We could talk about this kind of crap for hours and hours. What they're doing to us, you know, and get back to healthier food and gardening and that, you know. And we want to show people. We want to show people the chickens and the milk cow and the gardens and the courtship, you know. And after the wedding, you know, we're going to be talking about it, and we're going to be on camera together and showing people. And I've also started freedomgeorge.com. You know, it's actually, she started it, but, you know, it's me.
And what's that? What's freedomgeorge.com? It's
a website that it's just up. There's nothing on it really yet. It's just been launched, and it's going to be more about us and about, you know, living and coming to Christ. People who are having trouble coming to Christ, that are just, you know, because when you're trying to navigate through it, when you first wake up, or you actually give Jesus your heart, things are pretty crazy, right? So we want to help people with that, and help people with addictions and that. And this will be a platform where they can't shut down, not like social media, they can't censor, and I can get people's emails and actually communicate with people that need help. And we want to make a little community as well.
Online community.
Online community, but also a community where I live.
Oh, really?
Like tiny homes and stuff like that.
Oh,
so, we'll be working into that as we develop.
You don't figure you get a little bit of government backlash for that?
Probably, but
because I know I've seen what happens when other people try to build a community and they came in and they shut them down.
Well, I gotta say, bring it on. That's all I can say about that. Yeah. I live in northern Alberta in a pretty...
Allegedly, CSIS and RCMP Bring It On. It's like a movie. I don't know if you've seen it. Bring It On is like cheering movie. It's a dance movie.
Yeah, no, we just want to connect, and we want to connect with like-minded people that want to do things by the heart.
Absolutely,
And I've said it many times in the last few years. Like you can't hide from what's going on right now. You just can't. You should be doing things from the heart, and you should be doing things with integrity and honesty, and we've been watching it now for quite a while. These people that have been hiding amongst us, and they're showing now, right?
The infiltrators that are coming in and imploding things from inside.
Yeah.
After all the long hard work that we've put in, holding things together and doing things accordingly.
Yeah.
And now that's just being imploded. And I think that's the whole reason why they kept us apart. And kept us silent, as well as myself. But I think they've been slowly strategically going in and taking and tearing these all down from the inside. Every little movement or group, the people that are trying to, do what they're doing, somebody gets in there and they muddy the waters. And then the public gets to see it because obviously everybody thinks they're an online superstar. So they put out the negative bullshit that's been made up. And I know it because I'm a victim of it. I get it constantly. And some of the people that you thought you were your friends, or, people that were close to you and you thought that they were good people with integrity, are some of the most disgusting, vile people I've ever met in my life. And you know who you are, and you know what you're doing. And so do we.
Yeah.
George and I are very, very rehearsed in what you guys are doing. And now we're back.
Yeah, well, now we get to talk about it more openly and honestly, and these people don't even know that they're possessed and stuff, and they need to fix that first. You need to basically understand that, like, you're the problem. Stop blaming everybody else, right?
Look in the mirror.
Yeah, look in the mirror, and for me, when I accepted Jesus into my heart, everything changed. And that's me. I'm living proof of it, So, do what you want, but just be a good person. All the lies and stuff like that, and it's horrible. Like,
why are you making it? You've gone through it all. The
bullshit. Oh my God, yeah, like just horrible lies. Like you're dealing drugs and your pedo tendencies and like this kind of crap. Like just because you're mad or you're butthurt or whatever it is.
Heaven forbid you tell people that you had an addiction back in the day and you got better and you went to rehab. Yeah. Now all they do now is they say, "Oh, you're."
Yeah, and I got accused of that too from these people saying that, "Oh, I'm back on the drugs again," and you know I've had it from a few people.
And we live in a society that's based on reality TV shows, so the whole lying, cheating, and stealing, right? To get that $1 million, well, while all the while being your friend to your face and acting like nothing's wrong, but in behind the channels they're talking shit about you, and they're spreading rumors and lies and.
And I see it all the time because I get the messages from people like, don't think you're hiding when you're messaging behind the scenes because like I got friends everywhere. So
I know, right?
And so do you. So like you think we don't see this, and you wonder why that we're not talking to you anymore, or that we're not, for me, I just use that block button now if there's any negative. And if you wrong me, then see you later. In passing, like see you at a rally or something on the street. Hey, how's it going? La di da di da. But don't ever think that I'm ever going to be personal with you and let you into my life again.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I'm just done. At this point, we've been through too much, and like you lose my trust. I'm sorry. Like you're never going to get that back fully. No matter how hard you try, it's never going to fully come back.
You can forgive, but you can never forget.
Yeah, the trust thing is really big, right? So when you're making up lies and basically being a rat too, in your lies, well, like you're done.
Yeah,
sorry.
And that's the experience that I have. Like I have it in mind that people within what we've done actually have, and I have it in writing of people going to the cops and trying to get you and me while we were in Ottawa actually arrested. and thrown in jail prior to anything because of jealousy. Because they were, they didn't get the hype or the notoriety that they thought they were going to get out of it.
Right.
And they worked one-on-one with law enforcement. And I've seen it in the disclosure, ladies and gentlemen. And now that this is the premiere episode, I can say it with full honesty that the leadership that we had going to Ottawa was the exact people that were ratting people out and not ratting, but going to law enforcement, making these false allegations and trying to get you and me arrested. I haven't talked to you much about this.
Well, we haven't really had time, have we?
Right. So, since seeing each other, I haven't had a chance to talk to you about this, but this will be a first release right here.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I'm going to say it, James Bowder, and I'm calling him out on this for the simple fact is we've went through court. We've all gone through. Chris has gone through court. Tamara's gone through court. Guy Meister's gone through court. Everybody's gone through court. We all paid our dues. We all did what we stood here. We were counted. And James Bowder ran off to Texas and decided he's going to claim political friggin' prisoner down in Texas. And I have him ratting or saying to the law enforcement that we were Antifa, that we were there to cause violence, and that we needed to be surveilled and watched all the time, and that we should have our finances investigated. And this was to a Constable Michelle Brisson. So I have the officer's name and everything. They even wanted to meet for coffee in Ottawa to talk about this stuff, to discuss this stuff of James Bowder being the snake that he is. And we knew it. And I knew it before we left.
Yep.
Him trying to cause shit because he didn't get the attention he needed and he wanted. And in fact, what he did was brought negative attention to it. And with that MOU, and then as well, he came in with they came in with negotiating with Ottawa, which turned what we thought was a peaceful protest into a hostage situation on the advice of outside people that weren't even part of the organization. There were 14 people, ladies and gentlemen, that were in charge of the organization of that convoy. I being number one, and then it snowballed down. Now, moving forward, I want to say this. Tamara was brought in for administration. I brought Tamara in. Nobody else did. I connected Chris and Bridget. I connected everybody together. And then we formulated our group, and George was part of that group. And now as we travel down the highway, you've got people trying to gain that popularity, wanting to be the front row and center. Gladly, go ahead and be that front row and center. But you don't want to go ahead and start taking out and trying to cause a scene between the two guys that were here for peace and love and maybe a pretty damn good time.
I was right in my glory when I was there. I was like designed for that stuff. I was having fun. It
was Woodstock,
teaching people how to get by the freaking roadblocks and everything.
Yeah.
We had the Freedom Truck. We were climbing curbs and jumping meridians and doing whatever we wanted to get wherever we wanted. It was awesome. Yeah.
And
the love and unity that was there was.
Remember talking to law enforcement? Remember, buddy called himself the biggest or the most expensive street light out here because all he does is stand there with a light on him. Yeah. But this is something I wanted to go into. Now I don't want to divulge into too much, and I'm not trying to finger point at anybody in this episode. But we will get to that in later episodes as we move forward, as long as things go the way they're going to go, and we'll leave that a little Easter egg for you guys to say a little
there's a lot to talk about. There really is, and
a ton to talk about.
And
man.
If you were in silence for 3 years, this would all be out there, and we could have talked about it. Well,
and that's why certain people have moved forward to look like something they're not, is because they had to jump ahead while I was silenced, so that they can, get down and keep me subdued to the rest of the people around. But that's going to come out soon enough. And like I said, ladies and gentlemen, my book is going to have all of that in it. And my book is going to also come with a thumb drive. And inside that thumb drive, it's going to be attached, buried in the cover, so that everybody can see all the proof.
Right.
Because I'm all about transparency with this. And a lot of the things and a lot of the bullshit that went on should never have happened due to certain key people. And that's all I'm going to leave it at that. We'll move on to the next conversation.
And we knew that.
We did know that. Yeah. We did know that. And that's why it was put out while we were in Ottawa that we were the troublemakers. But in fact, even the judge said I was not the troublemaker, and I was actually the key person, the key component of keeping it from nonviolence and damage to property. And in fact, we advocated it. You and I advocated it all the time. about no violence, guys. Keep it, keep it very professional.
And every day we drove around to all
but
the
other
different
people,
spots.
other people tried to paint us as violent.
Yeah.
Right. And this is where I'm going with that is the fact that we were not the violent ones. And I have the judge in wording in my sentencing saying, in fact, Mr. King can be credited as being a positive role model and positive influence to making sure there was zero violence and making sure there was zero property damage.
Yeah.
And there was none. There was no violent charges. Nobody was charged with assaults.
No.
Nobody was charged with damage to property, which is the key point to all of this, compared to other things that we're seeing in today's news and stuff that's going on where windows are being smashed by a certain demographic of people and things that are going on. And, cars are being burned, riots in the streets kind of thing. But all these people across Canada were told that you and I were the problem.
Yeah.
And in fact, we weren't.
Well, we were to them because we actually bring light to the situation. And especially when we're together, we bring like even our energy now.
We could see right through all the bullshit.
Yeah.
And that's why everybody was like, whoa, stay away from them. Because we can see through that. We can see what they were trying to do and how what they were trying to do in Ottawa. Once again, we're going to stay off that for a later topic as we go through this, guys. We're just trying to, we can sit here and spin off many a topic all day.
And this is your first podcast, bud. Like here we are, we're just figuring it out and stuff. And I am so blessed to be here helping you do this, brother, because you put this together and stuff, and I got no problem flying over here to be the first one on, man. Man, did I ever miss you, man? Shit. And we've been laughing and giggling and doing all, just driving around. I haven't
stopped smiling since you got off the plane, bro.
Yeah.
It's just been ear to ear grin. So currently, here we are, currently and doing some things here now. What's your take on this bullshit that's going on now? With Carney.
Okay, with Carney, they're selected, not elected. That's what I believe, right? It didn't matter.
Selected, not elected.
Selected, not elected. Okay, selected. And the Liberals are going to get back in no matter what. Cheating didn't matter, and the whole system is just wrecked anyways. It's no good. Like how did they have all the seats over here? And we get before Alberta even votes, basically it's already done. Right. So they concentrate where the population's at. And so it's no surprise that Carney got in that. But for me, like the road ends up at the same place anyways, no matter which, because they're all in it together. That's what I believe. And they play mind games with us. They, the programming through the TVs and the screens and the laptops, everything, all the shows, and we don't even realize it. So they know how to sway the masses out here very easily. Like, look at what happens with this elbows up thing. Like what is that elbows up?
I remember elbows up. Last time they told me elbows up, I had to interlock my fingers behind my head.
What the heck
on the ground?
Right. So, I believe the road ends up in the same place, no matter who's in there, and I also believe like we don't need the federal government. We don't. I would like to see Alberta or Saskatchewan or something like let's separate from Canada, or let's just be our own entity inside Canada. We can still keep Canada,
and we can,
right, and but we have no feds, and then this way we do our own deals from province to province. Nova Scotia, they don't have this stuff that Alberta has, but so they need $2 billion. Well, Alberta has $1 billion. Ontario has $500 million. Saskatchewan has $500 million, and we take care of Nova Scotia because they need this, right, for the people, not for their pockets. We need to get back to where we're taking care of the people. I
think my firm belief would be like they say in the Bible: teach a man, give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Yeah. Teach a man to fish, he'll eat for the rest of his life.
Exactly.
If you can make the ability that everybody can catch the fish, then maybe everybody will survive.
That's right. And then Canada's saved, right? Yeah. And people see it as a really big threat, separatist, all you guys, this and that. And the Indigenous have come right out and they're up in arms against it. But to me, it would be way better. We're not doing these equalization payments the way we are and stuff like that. We can take care of our own province. You can still have your treaties. You can have all that, maybe even better ones.
Absolutely.
And we still share the wealth. You make deals. Alberta makes deals with New Brunswick when they need money.
It's funny that you say the separatist thing because and what a polarized topic for today's current events. But we're actually sitting in the separatist capital of Canada right now.
Yeah,
we're here in Quebec. We're in Montreal, Quebec right now, and they led the charge with the separatism movement. And back then, when they were talking about it, they damn near got it. You know, they were what 2% away from the vote and of getting that referendum. But when Canada was listening to this and hearing that Quebec was going to separate, they were all like, no, we love Quebec. We need Quebec to stay and we want to share the unity. This was across the nation. But the second that Alberta decides that, hey, we learned something that Quebec did that maybe we can possibly do for one another and our fellow Albertans, just like they did for their fellow Quebecers, and we learned something out of that process that we can do. And now all of a sudden Alberta is like, you know, we're whack jobs and we're conspiracies. And thanks, Jan Arden, for bringing major awesome media attention to this. I think you know me by name now because we've had a few conversations online about this. But that being said, you know, I see that different polarity from back when Quebec wanted to do it. And, you know, Quebec was, you know, rightfully in the right lawful state to be able to do that. We as well are in the same one. But what you're seeing now is, and I see the threat, and this is why I think we're catching so much backlash on that, is because the threat of all the money that we make in Alberta, the cash cow, is going to be cut back. If not cut back, it's going to be cut off.
Yeah, so let's cut that off until the rest of the provinces separate from Canada too, and then you make your deals.
Yeah,
like enough. Let's share our money from province to province. Yes, but let's make deals. Saskatchewan needs this infrastructure built, so they need X amount of money. You know, and New Brunswick needs this in their port.
So you got to do this. You're trying to say act as Alberta as the bank.
Well, no, you know, but when you have an abundance and you're not using it, you're going to have to share it. Like, I still want to help my fellow countrymen. So I don't want to just cut everybody off to the way where now all of a sudden, like Nova Scotia I love Nova Scotia. Now all of a sudden they don't have the funding that they need because they don't have the resources over there on the rock. Right. You know, and they're going after their fishing and this and that. So all of them are going to starve over there. But people need to understand that most of the money comes out of Alberta and Saskatchewan.
Like a very large portion of it.
Yeah, it really does, right? We have the oil.
We are the key contributor to the equalization.
And I always use the analogy of Canada as a human body, Alberta being the heart, and Ottawa supposed to be the brain. Well, our brain is not working.
Did you
obviously.
Just say that?
Supposed to be.
You said Ottawa is the brain?
No, I said supposed to be the brain.
I would have called it the cancer.
Right. But obviously we need to cut that head off, right? So
yeah.
And just get rid of the feds altogether is what I would like to see. And then we have our own taxes. We take care of our own people. And the money could be there because with the feds not there, where's all this money going from the federal government? Where's all this taxes going?
To the Ukraine.
Right. And so Alberta separates. Imagine if we got a problem with our current government and how fast it is to get 1 million or 2 people to the legislature from Alberta. Right. How are we supposed to get from Alberta to Ottawa in 4 days? And now you just wouldn't be able to do it. I mean, we did it once. They'll never let that happen again.
I don't think so. I don't think
we wouldn't get close, right? So what each province could hold their government accountable a lot easier. You know?
One of my biggest things, and when we did this for Wexit, one of our discussions for all of this was, you know, back in 2018, 2019, we knew that there was an opportunity to get these pipelines in the ground.
Yes.
So then he hit us with Bill C-69, right? The anti-pipeline. But one of our key topics were to run that pipeline east to west, right out of Alberta. And as you flow that pipeline in each province, there's a kickoff, right? We all know what pipeline kickoffs are to certain storage facilities or whatever. Yeah. Each province gets their own storage facility. They get their own refinery. They can make their gas and their diesel and their butanes and their ethanes and all of the, you know, the derivatives that come from it by cracking it down in big refinery systems and processes. And then they have the ability, each province has the ability to either stockpile their resources and reduce their cost in fuel costs within their province, or they can stockpile, which gives them an abundance, which will bring down the cost, or they can sell out to market a certain portion that brings in revenue to that province that goes back into the infrastructure and into programs and social economic programs. And there should be no reason. And one of the things within this debate that pissed me off a little bit was the fact that, and I love Quebec, don't get me wrong, but Yves Francois Blanchette, when he says it, he says, no, there'll be no pipeline coming to Quebec. But if Quebec knew how prosperous they would be from that oil and gas and encouraging us, then those equalization payments would get more and they would get bigger and Quebec would get more return from it. But at the same time and a lot of Quebecers don't know this, is they have their own resources here.
Yeah.
And I've drilled them here and I've produced them here and I flowed them back. And then when they found out that we had oil and gas here, back in the day, this was back in early 2000s, they shut us down.
Yeah.
But that was your government that shut us down. It wasn't you guys. It was the government of Quebec that shut us down after they found out that they have resources here that are in abundance. So all that aside, we're not trying to stir the pot on that end of the things, just saying that every province has the ability to be self-sufficient of the federal government is where I was going with that.
Yes.
And that's the possibility that hopefully we can bring that attention to, while being out here, to a lot of the, my upcoming guests that we're going to have on the show.
Yeah, and you got some pretty cool guests coming on. You told me
we
about
do.
that
Yeah,
today.
it's going to be really really good to see the caliber that we're moving up now, so that we've got the potential. But my last topic on our interview today, and this is kind of jumping all over the map here, but we had tried to do something when we realized our bank accounts were being frozen. Right. We said we were going to try and see if we can do something without the banking system. And we got this idea of running a crypto token.
Yeah.
I want from your mouth, not mine. How did that come about? Because just as well that I had no idea about this crypto token, but I was all aboard with it.
Yeah. Well, we weren't at first, though. Neither of us were.
Yeah.
Owen Swiderski was the one who brought in 3 gentlemen that wanted to do this freedom token.
Yeah.
And I know nothing about it. I still know nothing about that stuff. Like, I kind of just stay away from it. I'm old school. I live out in the bush, and, I make my money the old fashioned way.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Owen, he was kept on hounding us to make this coin. And we could help everybody, and people could buy into it, and they could make this money, and everybody could get rich off this. Basically, is what you were spinning. And you and I were like, oh no, I don't know. And then finally, it was okay. All right, let's do it. Because we were strapped for cash, obviously, and it sounded pretty good after talking and being hounded for quite some time.
Yeah.
And anyway, so we started this coin and we launched it, and we were at Misty's and Conrad's place at the time, I believe, at an Airbnb when we went live with the announcement
launch
on it. And so, anyways, I knew nothing about it, but our names were on it, our pictures were on it.
Yeah, mine was right front row and center.
Yeah, and then we went to jail.
Yep.
So I didn't know what happened to this coin or anything at all. But when I get out of jail, I got a bunch of people asking me, where'd the money go? Where'd the coin go? Where did this go? And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I was in jail. Oh, you stole the money? Like, I got accused of stealing this money.
I'm still being accused of it.
How am I supposed to steal money when I'm locked up in jail with no computer and no phone or nothing? Like, and to top it all off, I don't know nothing about crypto or crypto wallets. Like, I couldn't even do it if I tried right now, even.
Yep.
So that all went down, and we lost this coin, I guess, or whatever. And there was a lot of people that were upset about it.
But that was Owen Swiderski's baby. That was his
deal. He was the one that convinced us.
He had it all up, and he connected us with the people that we met. There was the one gentleman's name was Julio, and Julio, who? David Obigi. That's who it was. Sorry. So Julio, David Obigi, and then another gentleman by the name of Alejandro.
Yes.
And Alejandro was, working on this stuff. And ladies and gentlemen, Alejandro's in the studio right now. That's who I just talked to about who this other person is. So I wanted to bring him in as well so that we can put this to rest and we know what happened. And a lot of people have been asking this question, but I couldn't ask this question. I couldn't give you guys answers because you wouldn't be able to take it for what it was worth unless we had George here in the room with us. Wow. And we have Alejandro in the room, and Alejandro's going to come in and he's going to talk about this. But before I get moving forward a little more on it, is I get arrested first, right? So I'm the first one to get taken out.
The day before I did.
But this wasn't before. We had already gone in and set this all up for everybody. And then we had meetings with organizers that were in these war rooms.
Yes.
And we went into these war rooms and we made appointments. So we called everybody. We said, hey guys, we have a means that we can protect our truckers. They'll be getting a free coin, and that coin's going to hit up, and then they can like pull the funds out of their own coin. Each trucker is going to get a white paper sale. And we had all their names, and we were actually going into these rooms, and we were threatened by this other group, in the war room, calling George and myself mafia hitmen, and that we had already made a meeting so these guys could come in and discuss how the coin was going to work and how it was going to be presented, and for everybody to know and get that, that information that they needed. And thank God, honestly, at first it was a good thing, but thank God it all turned out the way it turned out, because now, ladies and gentlemen, the coin was stolen, okay, by these two gentlemen by the name of Julio and David Obiji is his name. And we actually have the proof. So I have on thumb drive where every transaction went from a current a coin holder who was able to track, thank God for blockchain. And we're going to bring Alejandro in here, and he's going to discuss more about it too. But I just want people to know that this was a project that we were doing on the benefit of everybody else. There was no way we were making it rich. Now, there was a 2% royalty that came off this, and it got put in what's called a MetaMask wallet, which was locked down on my computer, on my laptop. And it had only made, it was $17,000. I get arrested. My laptop gets left behind. You're still there, but you're arrested the next day, right? You got arrested.
I got arrested the next day. I wasn't there when your laptop was touched.
So
it was still in the hiding spot.
Right. So the laptop was it was protected, but Owen tried to run out of the house with the laptop. And I didn't get out from jail for 5 months, but people had obtained the laptop before he was able to run away with it.
Yeah, who was at the house there?
So they were able to obtain the laptop. They took the laptop, and I'm in jail 5 months, 5.5 months. I'm sitting in jail. I don't get it. I get home, and I finally open up the laptop, and I find out that Owen Swiderski was set as an administrator on my laptop. I never set that up. I never set him up as an administrator. So at some point, he got into my laptop. I must have left it on, set an administrator. And this is the way we're putting it.
Do you remember how many times he stayed behind while we went down to the streets, or we went helping people? And he's like, "Oh, I'll just catch up with you later."
I'm just going to stay behind.
I think about 3 or 4 times I can remember that he stayed behind, and he met us hours later down on the street. And one time it was really cool because he come down there with this big mohawk, and he had "Let's go" on the side of his head.
Yeah.
And I was good friends with Owen and stuff, but I mean, not anymore.
Well, and these are the things that I wanted to clear up with you guys here today, is the crypto coin was stolen.
Yes. While we were in jail. And the coins went to a David Obiji and a Julio and Owen Swiderski. Now, Owen still has to own up for this, and he needs to say his piece, and this is why I'm calling it out today, because Owen Swiderski, I'm allowed to talk to you now. You're not part of my conditions, the same way George is sitting in my seat right now. You got some explaining to do, and a lot. And a lot of people are going to want to know what happened to that. And it's on your shoulders, man. And in fact, that being said, George, man, having you on the show and getting today between you and I, buddy, I friggin' missed you. I missed you, bro.
It's been awesome, and I'm glad to have you. I think we're going to do many great things together moving on in the future.
Yep.
I think now that we have the ability to put a lot of this bullshit to rest now for a lot of people out there, this is going to catch its regular old negativity.
Oh, yeah, there's going to be a pot stirred, just you and me together
but
again, all the haters.
Now you have a defender of the truth with you now, and I have one back again to where we can get back to actually getting this shit maybe hopefully somewhat straightened out for everybody, for all the holes in the stories that a lot of people don't know. I'm happy to have you, man, and you're allowed on the show anytime you want. You make a cameo guest anytime, man.
Yeah, you bet.
Anytime,
we'll be over here to visit you for sure.
I know. Moving forward with the wedding, I can't wait. I've been so excited to get there and celebrate that with you on your special day. And in the future, we're gonna have some amazing things to get moving forward on.
Right, and building your foundation is what we're doing right now. And people want us to, you got to go to the ostrich farm. Well, no, we're on the other side of the country right now, guys, and there's enough people there. And I hope those birds don't get killed and stuff. But people need to understand that you and I right now are at a different stage. We're building our foundation so that we can help others. We're building it up ourselves up so that we can help. Because right now we're broke. right? Like, how are we supposed to help anybody? And now you got your podcast going, and then, I'm going to have a lot of stuff coming up here in the near future with my courtship and my future wife and stuff, where we're going to be making bank as well.
Yeah.
And we have to. And I mean, we want to show people how to do it the proper way.
Right.
And let's go back in time, guys. Let's go back in time. Let's make things more simple again, and enough with all the consuming and, the hate and the lies. And why are you lying about people when you know it's a lie, right? You have a demon. That's what it is. And I'm very convinced that's what it is.
Evil attacks the weak-minded, right?
Yeah. And, you got to get off the hard drugs and the drinking all the time and stuff like that. Like, I have a drink here and there now, but not very much. And, I've been off the hard drugs for a long time. And people, they also need to stop attacking you when an addict like myself opens up and talks about it. You are harming a lot of people out there by attacking me for opening up about it, because I am helping more people than you understand. By me opening up and me breaking down that wall, it helps so many people out there that are in trouble and that are addicts in that. And so like leave people like me alone when you're opening up, because I'm trying to help people, right? And you're just harming other people out there that have problems.
And you can't be no good to anybody if you're no good for yourself.
Right. And that's why I stay away from so many people. Like, none of my old friends, anyone who's still into the drugs and drinking all the time, they're gone. I can't have it around me. Like, I can't even stay at certain places because a certain person in there does drugs. So I can't stay there. Right. So I have to make other plans and make sure that person's not on it, because if I go down that road again, I don't know if I'll come back out.
Yeah.
And that's a whole
I'll
other
come
story.
and get you.
Yeah.
I'll come and get you, bro.
And I don't
You're
want
gonna hate me for a while, but I'll come and get you.
Yeah, but I want people to, like, we got to grow up out there, and it's time to start loving and learn, forget how to hate, learn how to love. Yeah. And it's okay if something happened between us. You don't need to get online and bash them over it and make up stories or spill the beans about a conversation that you had privately a while ago. That's, you just turned into a rat.
Well, it turns out to, like, the fake people, you don't even get our attention anymore.
No, and I can sense it right away. When I go into a room and there's something wrong and there's somebody off around me, I sense it instantly. So I'm learning about my awakening and what's happening to me on a spiritual level and stuff, and navigating through all that as I'm doing life, as I'm trying to help people. As I'm trying to claw myself out of a huge financial hole that I put myself in running around the country. And like a lot of you don't know too, I bought my rental property for a very good price. So it had equity. So I borrowed $80,000 more than what I bought it for. And I spent that 80 grand just running around the country and freedom fighting and helping people. Giving people that their bills, they're going to lose their phone or they're going to have their electricity cut off and stuff. And I'm helping them. And, I don't talk about it out there and brag about it and boast about it or anything. I just help kudos. And then you never get that money back, but I don't care. That person never had their heat shut off that month, and they managed to make it through. Yeah. Have conversations with them, and and like, we're all humans. And,
absolutely.
And we've gone so far programmed and backwards to the point where we don't have communications, and you just automatically think because that's what it says on the TV. Right. That's the way they're programming you to think that, and with my relationship now, I hang out with the opposite sex, who's my friend. She hangs out with the opposite sex all the time. We have best friends that are like really good friends that are the opposite sex. Mm-hmm. But we know, right? Yeah. That nothing will ever break what we got.
Absolutely.
And we need to be able to go back to that where it's not just, they're sleeping with each other. Oh, they're having lunch together? Oh, they're banging. Yeah. No, that's not how it should be.
Everybody loves the drama, right? And that's the negativity that drives this world. Yeah. And I just want to say I'm happy to have you on the show, man. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. I'm glad you flew in. Thanks for surprising me.
No problem, brother.
And having that beautiful moment that we had. We're going to move on with George as well with this conversation, but we're going to also bring Alejandro in and we're going to get this and put it to rest and give some of the information out of, what happened while we were in jail with this coin. Because I know there's a lot of people out there that are dying to know what's going on with this. So we'll just take a little break here quick, and then we're going to jump in and have Alejandro take the hot seat.
Awesome. I want to hear this too, because, I've been talking to him a little bit here and there, but I'm so busy now that, and everybody out there, like, I'm not trying to ignore you, and I'm like short messaged or not. I'm taking care of me right now. Like I told you, I'm trying to do everything by example, because none of you will believe anything unless you see it.
That's right.
So I'm trying to be that example. and I'm doing things as best I can. And, it's all going to come out more. I'm back, baby. I'm back,
We're
so
back. We're back.
let's go.
Let's go. As promised, guys, we said Alejandro is in the house. Ladies and gentlemen, Alejandro, how's it going, buddy?
Good, you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for coming in today and helping with all these projects with us and getting this.
Pleasure.
Alejandro has been an integral part of this premier podcast, and he has been working diligently in the background to get this day to where we are right now today. So thanks, man, for all your hard work, buddy. And I'm so grateful.
It's appreciated. I appreciate what you guys did for the whole world, basically, when you guys did the convoy. So it's the less thing I could do.
And perfect intro. We met at the convoy, during the convoy, when it come to this crypto coin
Exactly.
that we're talking about, and it was called the Freedom Token. And obviously George has said his piece with this, and I've said my piece. We didn't know what was going on with this, but you guys were the experts. We thought you were brought in from Owen Swiderski. He got a hold of you guys somehow. I don't know how. And maybe we'll just let you go from there. Like, how did it get? I know how we got to where we launched the coin, but how did you get involved, and where did it go after we went to jail?
Well, it started with Owen. I got in contact with him through TikTok because you guys were looking for moderators.
Mhm.
And next thing led to another because you guys had a GoFundMe that got blocked. All your bank accounts got locked. So the next thing, he asked me for a cryptocurrency. I have a lot of knowledge into this. So, I had contacts too.
Yep.
So I introduced them the idea of creating a cryptocurrency, which could actually, help everybody out in the convoy who had their money blocked, have some type of, incentive, also have some people buying the coins and having to be able to do your own the people's coin, basically.
Right.
That was my idea,
Yep.
At the beginning. I wasn't very not the computer savvy, but into software developing and blockchain. I was more the marketing guy at that time. And I found Julio Catra and David Obigi, who were
Julio Catra?
Catra, yes.
Catra, okay.
Yeah.
And
And David Obigi.
David OBG.
They already had like the experience of launching few tokens online. And
did you know them prior to this? Or
I
you
had
just
a friend of mine that really knew them good. I had met them a few times because my goal was to do cryptocurrency, in which I still do. I have NFTs that are launching or are really launched, and I'm working into NFT marketplace and stuff like that in the blockchain. But that's like projects coming up really soon. But at that moment, I was just in the marketing field. So I did the contacts with them, and the next thing led to another. We were at the Freedom Convoy at your hiding spot, and then at the War Room with David Obigi and
right.
Julio.
So these guys, we met, we got them to do what they do best because they said they had all this experience. And then when they were ready, we called you guys to come from Montreal to a big meeting, right, with Tamara and Chris and all their little team and everything on what we were going to do with this and make sure that it was legit and for the people.
Which was quite an experience to be there. Actually, it was an honor too to see the in behind closed door was really happening. The quality of the people, everybody was like professionals. There was people that were like, you guys make the system work daily in the works you do. So I saw a couple of people that had their bank accounts locked, which hadn't taken a showers for a couple of days. They had the same clothes on. Eating was a struggle for them. You guys had to manage to eat while you worked all your life, paying taxes too. And now your account was locked. So that cryptocurrency could have helped everybody. And also, you guys had the GoFundMe that was $18 million at that time.
Yeah, it was. They had the GoFundMe, then it got frozen, and then got released back to the donators, and then they did a Give Send Go, which then everybody flipped it and went to Give Send Go and put all the money back into the Give Send Go, and then the government ended up seizing the Give Send Go.
Exactly. So nobody got the money. Basically.
Nobody did. Yeah.
So
and same with this coin.
Yeah.
Nobody got their money for it.
Same thing.
So what happened? So we get arrested. What happened?
When you guys got arrested, Julio and David got scared. I was there for the good reason, for the freedom.
Yep.
And to create cryptocurrency for the people, which if we still had the project going on right now, would kind of been quite a thing,
Yes, it would have been.
It would have still been a big, the market, the currency in the market there, it would have been like over billions of dollars, I think. because it was worldwide. There was a lot of people from all around the world
Yes.
in the Telegram, and it was nice to see unity.
Yes.
And
And ladies and gentlemen, sorry to interrupt you, but this is not Bitcoin. This is not Ethereum. This isn't your regular crypto coins. This was the coin for the movement, for the convoy. This was the freedom token. This was the token. This would have been its own Bitcoin, its own Ethereum. This would have been its own baby and all in itself.
I remember when the coin launched, Bitcoin at the time was in a bearish market, so it was going down. The day we launched the coin, Bitcoin had a surge of 6%, which was pretty interesting because a lot of newcomers who didn't know about cryptocurrency were actually putting their money in and buying the the FCT token, we call it. But when you guys went in, David and Julio tried to reinvent the wheel, basically, and to go somewhere else because they got scared of the federal government, and I think their intention was they had other intentions behind their heads at that moment. So when it got really heated, they decided to go create the Go Freedom coin.
Okay.
Owen was he knew about that.
Owen knew about that?
Yeah, of course. He was in the talks too.
Okay.
We had a round table there, and he was part of the decisions too. So that Go Freedom token, when it launched, everybody realized that they had less money that they initially invested. So after me going to research and looking into what's going on, because I had a part of this, and I was responsible too.
Yep.
I realized that the circulating supply that they invented was double what they had on the FCC token. So they diluted the money, the available tokens, and the extra tokens they kept it for themselves.
No way.
Yeah. So everybody's money went down, and the rest of the tokens they kept it. So that was before your crypto token, whatever you own on the SCT token, disappeared. That was after. So I was trying to figure out what's going on, and when I really saw what was really going on, I got mad and I started talking and exposing this stuff on the chat.
Yeah.
I remember at that time I had a bid around like $10,000 US, which I had my percentage, you know, because we all had our percentages for launching the token.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And because of that, I got thrown off because they had the black wallet list. So they put me in the blacklist, and they kept my tokens, and I wasn't able to do anything else with it. And my voice got shut down from the group.
Yeah.
After that, I remember Owen was trying to settle things to put the story straight. He convoked Julio and David into the Telegram group. There was a bunch of guys who really knew about cryptocurrencies too.
Yeah, and one of them is a close friend of mine who was part of that, and he was able to track down where they went with this cash, and I have it on a thumb drive.
Nice.
So
you can't lose anything on blockchain.
You can't. Blockchain is trackable every direction there is possible, ladies and gentlemen. And that is one of the benefits to blockchain, is the fact that you can go down to a billionth of a coin and you can tell where it went exactly and who sent it there. So we've got it. We've got it tracked to Dubai and other places overseas in Saudi Arabia that these tokens were sent to. But it was Julio and it was David.
Interesting, because Julio a couple months ago just came back from Dubai.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, just raised the flag in my head. So
wow.
Yeah.
So these two have some explaining to do to the rest of the people. They jumped on the bandwagon. They sold it to us like it was good, and then I don't think it. In my mind, I don't think it was they were scared. I think they knew what they were doing the whole time.
Exactly.
And I think that was the plan, and a lot of people got taken advantage of that.
Also, for your coins, I knew they had the keys. So they could have, when you open up a smart contract, you leave the options in or out, especially in the BNB smart chain.
Yeah.
And you just put it in. They have access, the back doors to anybody's tokens. So they can blacklist it and they can, withdraw the funds too. So that's a possibility too, that they could have been the ones taking the money.
Well, and that's where Owen has some explaining to do, right? Whether he didn't take it or not, it's not the topic. The topic is you had involvement in it. Why are you not owning up? You can't just throw your arms up in the air and say, I don't know. No, I'm here wanting to get to the bottom of this. People have divulged the information of where it went. Now I want to know who was involved, why, and what did you do? So I'm glad you brought this up for us, and then we needed to bring this up. This was not planned, part of this first episode, so this is the way we roll here. So it could be things ever changing every episode. So I appreciate you letting us know what happened to this. And you're saying they're still out there. They're still loving life, and Julio
they live in large. I could see I crossed David at the Carrefour Laval.
Yeah.
He had a nice car, brand new car of the year with in the plate in the back called Wave. I know it's his AKA.
Okay.
And Julio on Discord, trying to brag about his money and stuff.
Yeah.
Showed me a bunch of pictures. I blocked him. I don't need that kind of energy, but he's living good. So, something I can't really brag about.
Right. None of us can. I've spent the last 3 years living paycheck to paycheck, penny to penny, and this could have been an opportunity. I know there's a lot of truck drivers out there that are going through courts right now, and they could have really used that money, from that coin to pay their lawyer fees. There's people out there that invested cash in there, and they would have benefited from it as well. Like, there's no reason this should have even happened. But I know that once we went to jail, and I'm not even going to give them I understand you were scared bullshit. Straight up, Julio, straight up, David, you guys got some absolute explaining to do. And now I have a platform and a voice, and I really am opening this floor right now. This is my invite. Come on up to what happened and tell these people where their money is. That's it, straight up, because I'm taking the brunt of it. George is taking the brunt of it. And you took a little bit.
I did. Actually, I was trying to do some token, some cryptocurrency and tokens launched.
Yeah.
And a lot of people didn't want to work with me because of what
the
happened.
Hesitancy because of what happened.
And
absolutely.
The rumors and all of that. So, I mean, it's just, I went because I had good intentions behind that. And even when you guys, not you guys, but in the Telegram group, they called us. I'm the only one that showed my face. Until this day, I'm the only one that showed my face, So I'm not scared of the truth, and I was here for the good reasons, So I know when you guys went in, my goal was to take some of the part of the money and help you guys out, pay the lawyers, and pay the fees and whatever. But they would rather take the money and buy toys to give it to sick kids, And we had a hard time. Remember when we were trying to launch the token? Going around and trying to sign papers with the lawyers.
Mm-hmm.
You guys went to at least 10 places.
Yeah.
Even they took your money.
Yeah, the one lawyer in Gatineau took my money, and I still have the check where they're supposed to return my money, and they never did.
They never did because they had political affiliations, I guess.
Yeah.
There was one guy who did it, and a big shout out to Quadjo.
Yeah.
Quadjo Yeboah, who's one of the lawyers here in Montreal who's been doing a lot of great things.
Yeah.
Who did sign the papers, who made it happen.
Exactly.
Which is one of my friends, somebody that I know from a long time. So I just made a call and he did it. It make it happen. So
So and that's the other thing is David and Julio, we have a contract with a lawyer. You might want to get a hold of us.
That's true.
Yep. So and there's the conversations were had, and the verbal was binding, and it actually a video was made where the verbal conversations that we were having in front of the lawyer is binding. So I would really appreciate it if you guys come clean and at least give us some clarity and give us some understanding of what's going on here. And we're not talking anything bad. You have a lot of explaining to do, and I'm sure there's a lot of people across Canada and globally that want to know what the hell you guys did with this money. I know the law enforcement was involved. I do know that our CMP got involved with it. And I do know that some other people were getting involved in it, and some big heavy threats came down. So this is my public announcement right here. You can stop threatening people. We know what happened. We know there was some nefarious shit going on, and it's not cool. It's not cool. So on this platform, we're going to get to the bottom of this. So this will be a slow working conversation for my audience to just pay attention to it and do what we do best. We research, we find out, and we'll get to the end of this. So thanks for coming on, Alejandro. Thanks for airing that out. I needed that out, and I'm grateful you did, because that helps me a lot to move forward. This is the Redemption Tour 2025, and it's time to get it out, guys. So This is it. This was the premiere episode, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks to my guest, Alejandro. Absolutely thanks to my best friend, George, for surprising the shit out of me and flying in for this. This was one of the most, I think, one of the most greatest things to what we've done to today in my life that I'm looking so forward to moving forward with. So to everybody here, to Black Box Media, to all our supporters, stay tuned for the next episodes. We will be filming all week this week while we're here, and we've got some fantastic episodes coming forward. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and don't forget, freedom isn't free. I appreciate everybody, and that's it. This is the Pat King Show, and everybody have yourselves a great day, a great afternoon, and a great good evening. Take care.